to setting up the camera. In this video you will understand that the camera view is for our animation rendering as well as our normal rendering that we do. We're going to set up the camera, ready for the animation, and also animate the camera. So let's hop straight on over into Blender. Okay, so we have our animated lamp that's jumping about here. But of course, the way that we're currently viewing it, the view that we've currently got, is nothing to do with the rendering. If we go over here and click Render Image, we'll see what actually is going on. Okay, so before we go any further, there's something really weird going on with this base here. This is not the view we want for our animation, but this is neither the base that we want here. So let's go and troubleshoot this really quickly. Now it looks like geometry is going over the top of one another. Yet in the 3D view, when we render or set the viewport shading to rendered, we don't get that issue. So something that's turned on in rendered mode is not turned on in our view mode. I'm guessing, actually looking at the outline here, I'm guessing it's probably these two curves are still rendering. We can see here they've still got cameras on them. So the base curves that we had before, if we turn those two off and just render our image again, perfect, that artifact has gone. So it's a good point just to highlight here that before we go and animate anything and do 120 different renders, let's just make sure one of them comes out right first, and I'm happy with that. But I'm not happy with how it looks. So we need to move our camera. So let's hop straight back to the 3D view. Okay, and let's turn on some of the other lighting that's going to be going on here. So we're missing the plane at the back, so let's turn that plane on. Right, and hop around to where the camera is. So view, camera, or number pad 0. And this is what the camera can currently see. Well, not all that the camera can currently see. I'm going to need to zoom out a little. There you go, that's what the camera is currently seeing inside that border. Now that's not an inspiring view, and we want to move the camera around. And the camera is just like any other object. First of all, in the outliner, we need to check that it is actually visible in our scene. We can see that it is not. And if we try and select the camera and do anything with it, try and move it, well, we can move it up here in the transform pane, that's absolutely fine. But if we try and use G and move it without it being selected as visible, it won't do anything. So it depends which tools you want to use. We've got keyframing still turned on. Notice this is all gone yellow. Now we may in fact want to keyframe it anyway, so let's move it around to its starting position. So I'm definitely going to want to rotate it, not like that, around its own Z-axis, maybe about there. Now this plane that's emitting light for us is likely to end up being in the shot if we move it like this, and we don't want that. If we go we go render image, let's see as that comes out. Yes, that plane is going to be in our render. And I don't think we can just turn it off in the render because then we'll lose the light from it. So let's just try that and go and click on render. As it comes out, you can see the scene's much darker. So we can't just hide it from our render because it needs to physically be there in order to emit light to make our lamp shine. So we're going to have to move the camera ever so slightly closer. So I'm going to hop straight back round to the 3D view. And we're going to use these transform here just to adjust our view ever so slightly. I do actually want to be a bit closer to the lamp, so there's fine. I'm just going to grab the camera and move it there, and let's hop into non-rendered, just solid view, and just play our animation and see how that looks. Okay, that's looking good. We can see here that the animation is slipping back ever so slightly before we go. So let's just go to this part here, and then we don't want the camera following us, so we just need to shift it back slightly. So on that keyframe there, since I am going to animate this, I can just move it back ever so slightly like that. Let's see how that looks now as we shift through. Yeah, that's still in frame. And it's actually still in frame as it jumps at the top. So let's see if we can zoom in a little closer. So let's change the what is it going to be? Z goes up and down, so I'm going to have to move it down slightly and then move it closer to the camera, and probably this way as well. Now I need to rotate it, so let's rotate it round a little this way. Don't need to do it that way, and I will have to look up slightly because I'm going to lower the camera down to here. Pull it back here, and there's lots of adjustments you can do here. There's no right or wrong for doing this. I'm just setting it up how I think it's going to look quite good on the final render, and that's going to go out of shot, but that's fine because we can adjust and keyframe in some new camera positions as we go forward, and obviously that's going to fly off the end of our C there. Brilliant. So we've got the first stage, we've got the first keyframe all set up, we've got our starting position for the camera all set up. We just do a quick render again to make sure it's coming out how we want it to. Perfect. That's great. If this render here is taking a very long time, remember in the rendered options there are some settings that you'll need to do, and if I scroll down, 64 by 64, well, for a start I know that 16 by 16 is going to be slightly quicker. Now this is not going to be a fair test, we've got 2 minutes 26. If I render again like this, it's probably going to be very close. Okay, it's taking longer in that case. But it's too close to cool at those low levels anyway. So the other thing, of course, is scrolling up the samples here. We've got the render sample set to 10. Now I suggest you do leave that down low at the moment. If you increase that massively and find there's a problem, like we had that base problem, if I hadn't rendered it there and missed that, again, being lean, make sure you render it quickly. Well, we're about to render 120, so 120 times 3 seconds is several minutes of waiting. However, if we set that render samples to 1 just for a test render, and then hit this, we can see it's very grainy, but it's done very quickly. And if we go ahead and render out an animation like that, which I don't want you to do just yet because it's not going to come out how we want it, because we haven't set it up for exporting like that yet, we're just dealing with the camera, it will render very quickly anyway. And of course, once you've got the animation right, you can turn these rendering samples up as high as you like, is depending on how long you have to wait. The higher that is, the better the image quality is going to be until you get diminishing returns. Anyway, I've got a challenge for you guys. I would like you to set up and animate the camera. To set up the camera so our lamp is in view the entire time, animate the camera to keep our lamp in view as it's jumping about, and then have fun. Try different angles, see what you come up with. I'd love to see your animations as well, but we're not quite ready to export the animations. Hold on and we'll deal with that in the next lecture, but for now, pause the video now and set up and animate that camera. Okay guys, welcome back. Let's hop back on over into Blender. Okay, so I need to hop straight on to my 3D view once more. Now that we're here, the camera needs to really be rotated upwards so we can see it. Now, at the lamp's highest point, which is around there, I'm going to move the camera up. Well, actually, I'm going to look up. So I'm going to move the camera along so it's kind of following. And let's see, if I rotate, I think it's X, yeah, to look up. And I can even move the camera in ever so slightly. Brilliant. So let's just see how that looks. So the camera should follow us here. Now the base goes slightly out of shot, but am I happy with that? Yep, that's fine. And as it goes down to land, obviously it's nowhere near our lamp. And I would like to be looking back. I've decided I want to look back on our lamp. So before it lands, so I can see it lands about there. Before it lands, I want the camera already in position. So it's going to be around here that the camera needs to be there. So I need to rotate it round to look down our scene. And this is the X coordinate, I believe. So let's pull it out. Let's move this in. And the camera down. So let's see how that looks as it swings round. So the other thing we need to bear in mind is if we're animating the camera, does it make sense? So let's look there, and then the camera's being pulled round. Now, I'd actually like it to be looking down on the scene at this point. Part of the point of having this lamp is that it's shining a light on the floor. So at this point here, we come to here, I want it to be looking down. So let's rotate the camera, pull it down here, and then lift it back up. So how does that feel as we pan across? Go across here, and then we go out for a wider shot. Perfect. So the final thing that I would do here is I would just pull this camera perhaps a little bit further down, even rotate it round, rotate just a little bit more. Oh, that's a bit too much, because I want to see the spot that this is doing. So let's just run through that from here. Comes around and out. Perfect. Excellent. How did you guys get on? And shortly you'll be able to share your animations with the rest of us. Take care. See you in the next lecture.